Man, I know you're not a braggadocious guy at all. I know you're not, but you've got, because this is a pretty staggering number. In 2019, how much money did you win tournament fishing out here?
It was close to $50,000 in cash and prizes. So, yeah.
You might want to listen to what the man has to say, folks. I'm just telling you. You've watched all our content. You subscribe to our Fish Life app as well. And you give that, I mean, that's helped you, right? That's helped you figure out patterns and all that.
And that's why I need to thank you, because I didn't know nothing about fishing these lakes until I happened to cross your video on Facebook. Somebody else had shared it. Found you on YouTube, found you, started listening to you, started watching how you do things. That's awesome. I mean, you can pretty much call me a copycat because that's what I did, and then I started tweaking it as we went, you know. So. Well,
I sincerely appreciate what you're saying there, and I'm really a great sense of pride that we've been able to help you in any way. But at the same time, brother, it's the execution on your part. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Your Lake Fork Guide. Got an episode of the Guides Network today. We're going to go in-depth tips, instruction on current tournament tips for bass fishing here at Lake Fork. Right, Cody Mays?
That's right.
We've got the biggest bass fishing tournament of the year, biggest total payouts on this tournament, the Sealy Outdoors Big Bass Splash, coming up here in a couple days from when you guys are seeing this video. And Cody has been one of the most successful tournament fishermen over the last couple seasons out here on Lake Fork. He kind of just showed up here at the beginning of last year and has just been raking in the dollar bills out here, cashing a lot of checks, catching a lot of really big bass, catching a lot of good unders, and doing what it takes to get paid here at Lake Fork Tournament. So I brought Cody on today. He's going to help me out teaching you guys some in-depth tips specifically for tournament fishing right here on Lake Fork. Hey, before we get started, I want to take a brief moment, little sponsor plug, shameless sponsor plug, Waterline Eyewear. I've been wearing Waterline Eyewear all year. These are absolutely the best copolymer lenses I've ever put on my face. You can get them at a very, very fair price. You can actually buy these for half of what you pay for comparable glasses with other brands. Go over to waterlandco.com. It's linked down in the description. When you do, if you order anything, punch in the code Your Lake Fork Guide to get a 10% discount on all orders. One other name you'll hear a lot from a tackle company in today's video that Cody's using their baits. I use their baits, obviously, but 6 Sense Fishing. They make this awesome Lake Fork hat, camouflage. This was my baby right here. They make that awesome 6 Sense black and white American flag hat with the camouflage. Anyway, great apparel. You're going to hear a lot about their tackle. We use a lot of it in these techniques that we're using right now. Go to 6sensefishing.com, punch in the same code, Your Lake Fork Guide. Also get a 10% discount there on anything you order. We done paying bills?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about catching some fish. Cody, man, you have done a phenomenal job the last couple years in tournament fishing out here. And for those that don't know, Lake Fork has a 16 to 24 inch slot limit. That means you can't keep anything between 16 and 24 inches. So you either got to catch fish under 16, barely under 16, hopefully 15 and a half, 15 and 3/4, yep, or you've got to catch fish over 24 inches. It is quite the difference from normal tournament fishing. It requires some different techniques and tactics that we briefly talked about in Monday's video, but we're going to go in depth and show you all the ways that we use these techniques in today's video. Now, you mentioned something in Monday's video. I thought it was really, really good. You mentioned it to me earlier today when we were fishing. Utilizing techniques that will catch a lot of small fish, numbers of small fish, but have the potential to catch really giant, once-in-a-lifetime type bass. A drop shot is absolutely one of those.
Yep.
Now, a drop shot is something that I don't do, admittedly, hardly ever. Probably because I don't fish tournaments out here. I guide out here. So I'm really never targeting 16-inch and under fish. I'm trying to catch the biggest fish we can, as many of them as we can as a fishing guide. So those slot fish that are 18 to 22 inches, man, that's my wheelhouse. Customers are happy. Customers catching 20-inch fish all day, they're happy. And so that's what I do. So I don't utilize the drop shot nearly as much as somebody like yourself does. So I know you've had a lot of success on the drop shot. I know you've got a couple of unique presentations and kind of ways that you set it up. Your setup's a little different and your presentation's a little different. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so most people that fish with drop shot, you got a short leader, maybe
a foot at most.
A foot at most.
Usually about 8 inches.
Right. What I do is I use about a 2-foot leader. And the reason I do this is because the way I work it is totally different than anybody else. Instead of pulling it up, popping it, slow with that, I do pretty much a reverse Carolina rig with it. I drag it from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock, or 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock, whichever way you're facing.
Right, so you're dragging it to the side, keeping it low, which puts an angle on that leader, which means even though you've got a 2-foot leader, you're still only that 8 inches to a foot off the ground.
Right.
Got it.
But it just gives it a little bit different presentation. And one thing I found out here, presentation is key.
These fish get a lot of pressure. Yeah. And for those of y'all fishing the Sealy, you're going to see a lot of pressure on these fish that weekend. They are the most educated bass probably anywhere around here, for sure. Yeah. For sure around here, maybe in the world. Maybe you could make the argument with as small as Lake Fork is and how much it gets fished, these might be the most pressured fish on earth. They very well could be. And so, yeah, you're right. Little bitty things, little details can really make the difference between catching 10 or 15 or kind of getting your teeth kicked in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
So we got a big long leader. Now what size weight are we using?
So I tend to go a lot heavier than most. I like a 3/8 weight.
Okay. Okay.
Just because I can feel everything.
Right.
I can put a little more tension on it. And
get a little wind blowing like it's blowing in here right now.
Right.
It doesn't affect you.
And I can feel this fish smell it. You know what I mean? You can feel the slightest little tick.
Sensitivity.
So,
yep. Sure.
With a lighter weight, you're gonna lose a little bit of that. So.
What kind of line are we using?
I'm using Red Label Seaguar 20-pound test.
20-pound test on a drop shot.
Carbon,
beautiful.
Yep. And
that's great if you get one of those big fish on around all these flooded timber and stuff that we have, man. Being able to and using that heavier drop shot weight is what allows you to get away with throwing that heavier line and being able to manage it, right?
That's it.
Now I noticed something on your little rig up here now. You've got, and I'm gonna pull your worm back here a little bit to kind of showcase this, but talk to me about this little deal right here in the middle, because you've got a leader line tied on and some type of a swivel contraption. Talk to me, what do we got going on there?
Okay, so that hook makes it a lot easier for beginners in drop shot, to where you don't have to know how to tie a hook for drop shot, because tying the hook for drop shot to make it point straight up in the air like you need it to is very difficult to do in some cases.
It's a fine art.
It is a fine art.
Yeah.
And so if you break off, this hook is the best way to go, because it's pretty much dummy proof.
So what is this little thing here that you got your hook on? This comes as a hook.
Yes.
So this little swivel deal that's in the middle, that's part of the hook when you buy it.
It's part of the hook.
Okay, talk to me. What are we buying there? Talk to me. What is that?
That is it's a Decoy brand, 117 offset hook is what they call it.
Okay. Interesting. That's really cool. I'm gonna have to email 6 Cents a picture of this and see if we can get some stout hooks on some of these, because that's awesome.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
If they had them.
Yeah, the stout wide gap hooks on one of these little swivel deals, that's a really neat deal that I've never seen anything quite like that. But now you just tie 2 knots and your drop shot's ready to go.
Right.
That's cool.
And a good thing about it is that when doing it that way, you can tie a lighter test line on the bottom to your hook, to your weight. That way, if you do get snagged,
if your weight gets hung, that's going to break before your main line does.
And your hook, you're going to save your hook.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is retie your weight.
And you could pre-rig these leaders and weights and just have to tie 1 knot and boom, you're back in the tournament. Because a big part about tournament fishing is being efficient. That's a big part of it. So that's really cool. Now the worm, I see the worm you're using. That's a 6.3 inch Divine Shaky Head worm, but it's not quite 6.3 inches.
No.
So you're basically creating that's about 2 inches, an inch and a half. You're creating like a 4.5 inch finesse worm out of the 6.3. So you're taking the Divine Shaky Head worm, because this thing's got these ribs on here that move a little extra water. It's got this little swollen up tail back here, and even with just the natural vibration in your hand holding the rod, that tail does this.
Yep, it quivers. It
yeah,
does. It's got a lot of movement.
So that's why you're choosing that one. So we're taking about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of the head off the worm and rigging that on the drop shot. That's really good. I like that.
It's very effective. So,
well, man, that's kind of your drop shot setup. You got it on 20-pound line. You got it on a 3/0. Say the name of that hook one more time.
It's Decoy is the brand, but it's a 117 offset hook.
117 offset hook. It's got this crazy swivel thing in the middle of it. Then we got a 3/8 ounce drop shot weight down at the bottom. That's really good.
And I like to fish it on a medium heavy rod, fast action, because you can really feel everything.
Yeah.
So if you go with a heavy rod, it's really
loosen sensitivity. Yep. Got it. That's good stuff, man. I know that's an effective technique for you. I know we've talked a lot, and you've caught a bunch of dang fish on that. Now, it is very good. It's a technique that can catch a lot of numbers of smaller fish. which is what you need in these tournaments. You got to catch a lot of smaller fish to get that one that's 15 and 7/8. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to go through a bunch of them to get that right one. Another bait that's going to catch a lot of numbers of smaller fish is going to be the Weightless Clout stick bait. We're going to rig this on a 4/0, 6-inch 4/0 stout wide gap hook. This is a great bait. I know you've been throwing this particular color. Now, everything is shad centric right now.
Yep.
So a lot of our baits, and you know, the drop shot just kind of sit there and hold it in their face, drag it real slow, whatever. This thing, not so much. It's like a running bait fish away from them. And so you've actually been using the electric shiner color on your Clout stick baits. It's got kind of that pearl white color bottom, that flashing, darting action that you put when you twitch this bait. Because what we're doing, and Cody, you're doing the same thing. You throw it out there, you twitch, 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 and then you let it sink. And you twitch, twitch. So it's like a wounded bait fish that's trying to flee, and that flash of that white really represents those small bait fish. Guys, a lot of the bait fish we're keying in on right now, this is another thing we should have covered. The bait fish we're keying in on is very small. These are thumbnail shad, little ghost minnows, but they're big schools of them. And yes, as you guys saw that watched the Monday video, we are catching big fish mixed in with these small fish right now, chasing these schools, big schools of small little bait fish around.
Yep.
And what kind of line are you throwing this on? I throw this on like 15-pound fluorocarbon.
I'm using 17, so we're
17,
right there.
yeah, same thing. So I throw this on 15-pound fluorocarbon. It's such a light rig, 20-pound. It's just really difficult to throw the bait and manage it on that. 15-pound fluorocarbon gets the job done for me. I like to throw this on a like 6'11" medium rod.
Yep, same.
Same deal? Great. All right, so we nailed that one. There's another bait and technique. And like I said, guys, just cast it out, let it sink a while, twitch it a few times, real quick and sharp, subtle twitches, and then let it sink again. And that's kind of how you go about doing that. It's a pretty simple technique, really.
It is. Just watch your line.
If you're bringing your kids out to fish this tournament or something, a great bait for them is something like this right here. Now, another bait that worked for us, this was the bait today. This was the bait today. And this is, it'd be no surprise to anybody that watches my channel that we had success throwing a chatterbait today, because all I ever want to throw is a chatterbait. But 3/8 ounce chatterbait. This is an old discontinued swim bait that I got on here as a trailer, but I had these custom made back in the day to match Beehite Delight color, so I still use it, right? So Beehite Delight has not been the color until a couple days ago. And literally just this week, Beehite Delight has become the color. In fact, Cody showed up this morning, had a white one tied on. I've got a white one tied on right there. The shad patterns were better because everything shows shad centric, but for whatever reason, the fish started biting the Beehite Delight jackhammer chatterbait with the little matching trailer. And one thing I know about bass fishing, just don't argue with them. Like, listen to the fish, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're dumb, they do dumb things for dumb reasons, and if they want to bite a green chatterbait when they're eating silver shad, we'll throw a green chatterbait. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you just can't overthink it, folks at home. You just got to go with it. So but that's a 3/8 ounce chatterbait. Like I said, I like to throw it on a 7.5 medium heavy rod, and I like to throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon. It's again another bait, super simple to fish. You make long bomb casts with it. You kind of point the rod straight out, and you just reel fast enough to feel that blade vibrating. If you contact some grass or it gets bogged down, snap it up, snap that reel handle around, get it free, and just keep that blade vibrating. And a lot of times, one of the key deals about that chatterbait is you're going to feel that bite. It's going to feel like mush. It's going to feel almost like grass loading up on the chatterbait. You just want to pull. What I tell people all the time with a chatterbait is you can pull as hard as you want on that fish. I want you to pull hard. Just don't jerk. The one thing you don't want to do when you get a chatterbait bite is go. If you hear that, when you set the hook, you're going to miss and lose. If you don't miss them, you're going to barely skin hook them. You're going to lose a lot of fish. I think it's the blade on the front of that head. When you go to snap it on it, that blade kind of blows their mouth open. And if you hook them at all, you just get them skin hooked. Whereas if you just kind of load set, pull into them, that hook will bury on in there. It's one of the reasons I like to use a little bit bigger rod. Some people throw a chatterbait on a lighter action rod than I do. I like to throw it on a pretty big rod, 7.5 medium heavy. I've even thrown it on heavy action sometimes, and I just ease into the hook set. But with that bigger, stronger rod, easing into that hook set, I can still bury that hook in there real good.
And I also had to say something about personal past with the chatterbait. If you do pull into it and you set the hook and you think it's a stump, leave pressure on it for at least a few seconds.
Make sure it's a stump.
Yes.
Because when you hook one of these giants, you're going to go, whoop, and he's not going to move because he's real big and all that water resistance. And if you let up, you might lose him.
Yeah, and you'll be sick to your stomach.
Because when you set into one that feels like a stump and it turns out to not be a stump, That's usually one that goes on the over side of the slot.
That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you caught a lot of overs. You caught 3 overs on the chatterbait last year, right?
Yep, just last year.
In tournaments?
Well, 2 of them were in tournaments. One of them was, I was just actually fishing with a buddy. It was in between tournaments, actually. So.
But just weekend fishing, weekend tournament fishing out here, you had 3 overs on a chatterbait.
Yep.
In 1 year on one technique. So, man, chatterbait, you guys have seen it on this channel. We've caught a bunch of Lake Fork bass on chatterbaits on my channel. It is absolutely it's literally always on the deck of my boat. Full-time guide, make my living on the water right here at Lake Fork. And I fish other lakes, but I fish the vast majority of my time on Lake Fork. And I can tell you there's never a day that a chatterbait's not on the deck of my boat. It's that effective of a bait. I know some of the older guides have even gotten really inclined to throwing a chatterbait a lot. Some of the old school guys that were out here long before a chatterbait existed have really adopted it, and it's become their favorite bait as well. This is a tremendous chatterbait fishery out here. You can really catch them on a chatterbait on Lake Fork.
Yep, a lot better than you used to catch.
Almost year round.
Yeah. Almost
year round. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, well, you've been throwing a little top. Where's your little topwater plug at? So one other thing too, guys, that Cody's been having a great deal of success on here lately as I've been talking to him, and I think it's primarily, correct me if I'm wrong, primarily on these overcast situations, early morning situations. If the clouds are thick, we have been getting some overcast hanging around in the mornings here lately, but anytime you've got kind of low light conditions, you've been throwing a little bone colored Yellow Magic 1/4 ounce popper. Yep. The small one.
The small one, because I'm trying to imitate what
the
they're
small
chasing.
bait fish. Yep, absolutely.
So.
Now, any tips? So we're throwing this on mono. What pound test?
This is 15-pound test.
15-pound mono. What kind of rod we got it on?
It's on a loose, medium heavy rod.
Medium heavy. See, I would probably throw that on that 6'11" or 6'9" medium action.
7.2 medium heavy, but yeah.
So yeah. So you've got a little bit. So that's the one rod preference that we've disagreed on. I would throw a small topwater popper, small treble hook bait like that on a medium action rod. I would go down to like a 6'9" or 6'11" medium is what I would throw it on.
I can't disagree with you. That's just what
I mean, you can.
Well, that's just what I tied it on this morning.
You're also restricted on rod selection because you came in my boat today.
That's correct. And I just happened to grab this one out of the boat that my son actually bought me on Father's Day. It's kind of an off-the-wall one. I usually just use it for whopper ploppers or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was the only rod that I could grab that had mono on it first.
Oh, I got you. Perfect. So, as we're easing out the door. Nice, nice. Now, like we said, bait fish presence, low light conditions, that's the key to the topwater bite.
Yeah, it is. And early morning, and if you get the overcast, obviously you can go later in the morning.
It can hold on.
So,
yeah. But you wouldn't be throwing that topwater right now.
No.
Right.
No.
Right. Absolutely. Now let's talk for a minute about, and this is going to be a challenging conversation for both of us because I've talked to you enough. I kind of know we're kind of on the same page with what's going on. A general clue to areas to fish these techniques in. Man, we'd love to come on here and tell you, hey, go throw it on main lake points in 15 foot of water, or get in the backs of the creeks and find the grass and find a ditch. It's just not what's happening. They are not gathered. There's no groups of fish. Not one fish we caught today came from the same spot as another one. Everything was single fish. That's been the story for me for the most part over the last couple weeks. The positioning of them's changing. They're moving a little further into some pockets now, moving a little further into some creeks now, but they're not grouped yet. And I don't think we're not supposed to get a cold front between now, a significant cold front between now and the Sealy. So for the next week or two, it's probably going to stay pretty spread out. You're going to have to get in an area that has the overabundance of that small bait fish running around on the bank. And you can visibly see this bait fish flicking and popping and getting chased. Like when you find this massive amount of bait fish we're talking about, it's really, really obvious.
Yep.
Really obvious. But you're going to have to get in those areas and then cover water within that area, right?
Right. Even if you don't see the shad, if you see a lot of white cranes, blue herons.
Good point. Very good point.
You know, the trash duck is what I call them.
A lot of fish-eating birds.
Yep.
If you see an abundance of fish-eating birds, and you can literally just be driving down the main lake, and there may be 3 or 4 herons lined up on that bank. And if there is, you should go over there, because we're back in a pocket right now. But if this was the main lake, and there was birds over here lined up, there's probably going to be a lot of bait over there. And even though it would be the main lake, if there's bait over there, there's going to be some bass with them. Literally, the lake turned over, the water cooled off a little bit, and a majority of the bass in the lake went to the bank. But they all spread out to the bank, and they're just hunting these schools of bait down. That's all that's going on. So it's kind of sounds like a cop-out answer, but you really have to get on the bank and cover immense amounts of water till you find these concentrations of bait fish. That's the best advice I can give you. You got anything to add to that?
No, yeah, because there is no pattern. It's just
as far as location, there's not.
No.
There's not a location pattern right now. You can literally be on the main lake, or you can sometimes be back in a pocket. Like, you just have to find the bait. That it's all about the bait. And guys, like I said, I can't emphasize this enough. When you find the overwhelming amount of bait, it will be obvious. Like, if you're asking yourself, well, I wonder if this is what Billy meant by a lot of bait. It's not. It's not. Like, when you find the amount of bait we're talking about, it's going to be real obvious. Like, you're going to pull into one of these little stretches, and it's just going to be, looks like it's raining. There's so many shad popping the surface. So, you seeing the same things?
Yep, exact same thing. Overabundance of bait. Actually, I haven't seen so much bait on this lake.
It's because it's all on the bank right now,
Yep.
man. It's like all the bait fish just came out of deep water and went boom to the bank. It's crazy when you get in the right areas how much bait. That one pocket that you were talking about with me a couple days ago, man, that thing is like, the whole cove is like solid bait fish from one side to the other. It's insane. So that's what you're looking for, guys. Well, man, I hope that we brought you guys some value in this video today. I hope we did. I know Cody's been doing really well. You won our benefit tournament back in the summer, and you've been doing really good here lately. How'd y'all do last weekend?
We placed third in our championship.
Third in the championship on your trail last weekend. I know you got another tournament tomorrow, actually.
I've got 3 this weekend.
3 tournaments in one weekend. He's not messing around, folks.
Be on the water 18 hours tomorrow. So.
Man, I know you're not a braggadocious guy at all. I know you're not. But you've got, because this is a pretty staggering number. In 2019, how much money did you win tournament fishing out here?
It was close to $50,000 in cash and prizes. So, yeah.
You might want to listen to what the man has to say, folks. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
If he's saying it about tournament fishing on Lake Fork, he's been as hot as anybody over the last year and a half, 2 years. And he just started and immediately became that hot. So, dude, hey, first of all, congratulations on your success.
Appreciate it.
I cannot tell you how proud I've been, because I've known you from day one when you got here. You've watched all our content. You subscribe to our Fish Life app as well. And you give that, I mean, that's helped you, right? That's helped you figure out patterns and all that.
And that's why I need to thank you, because I didn't know nothing about fishing these lakes until I happened across your video on Facebook. Somebody else had shared it. Found you on YouTube, found you, started listening to you, started watching how you do things.
That's
and
awesome.
I mean, you can pretty much call me a copycat, because that's what I did. And then I started tweaking it as we went, you know. So.
Well, I sincerely appreciate what you're saying there, and I'm really a great sense of pride that we've been able to help you in any way. But at the same time, brother, it's the execution on your part. Like, yeah, we give you just what we're giving everybody right now. We're giving you all the information we got. We're giving you every piece of knowledge we got, but not everybody can go out there and execute to the tune of almost $50,000 in his first year out here. Like, that is insane, brother. That has been an awesome job by you on execution. I'm sure you've had some lucky breaks along the way. We all need them in fishing, but man, you've done an amazing job of executing on what you had to deal with. So, man, couldn't be prouder of you. Super happy for you, and wish you nothing but the most continued success I could possibly wish you, my man.
I appreciate it, buddy.
Let's go.
All right.
Hey, man, thank you guys so much for watching. Go check out our sponsors, like we said, Waterline Code Glasses. Go over to sixcensefishing.com. Get the Divine Shaky Worm. Get the Clout stick bait, right? You know what I'm saying? All these things that are catching all these fish for us. Go order them up. When you do, punch in the code, Your Lake Fork Guide. Get that 10% discount on anything you order at either one of those sites. I think that's it, brother. I think it's time to put this sucker on the trailer and load up and come back out here tomorrow and see what happens.
Sounds good.
You got a term tomorrow. Good luck tomorrow. Hey, thank y'all for watching once again. We'll see you next time right here on Your Lake Fork Guide.